Sure, as long as I unmute myself first. I'm
Good
Chris
idea.
Valiante. I am me and my friend Colin Springle are the owners of 22 Designs here in Driggs, Idaho, Teton Valley. We are a manufacturer of telemark ski bindings, and that's all we do. So, 100% of our income is based off of winter sports and snow. And let's see what else. I've been involved with CCL for about 5 years now, I think. And I think one thing that's been a little different is I haven't been a part of any chapter, because there hasn't been a chapter right here, although Laurel and another gal and I are working on starting a Teton chapter, which is exciting. Yeah. Yeah, how's that for an intro, Laurel?
I mean, that's amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. And Chris, thank you for, showing up and being our guest tonight.
Sure.
I think the reason that when I was thinking about putting together interesting content for this team and to really inspire us, is I definitely look to you as someone who has been very successful, as has Bill and Matt Tucker, our former co-lead who's taken a break, at really getting a lot of outdoor industry endorsements. So that's why I asked you here. But before we talk about that, we are outdoor sports people. And so tell me more about your sports backgrounds, growing up there in the Tetons. Let's hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I grew up, well, so I was born in Washington, D.C. And then when I was 10 years old, my family moved out to Jackson, Wyoming, which is just the other side of the mountains from here. And so I did grow up, skiing a fair bit, doing all sorts of fun outdoor activities, Boy Scouts and hiking and biking and various things. Let's see. Yeah, I actually went back east to college up into northern New York, Clarkson University. And my business partner and I were roommates at the time, and we both learned to telemark ski while we were there, because the outing club had telemark gear. And so it was a good way for us to sort of explore the Adirondacks right nearby there, and to get out into the mountains a little bit. And then I came home after college, back to Jackson, worked construction for a little bit, and then was lucky enough to sort of fall into an internship with this guy, Russell Rainey, who was sort of our predecessor, made telemark bindings. And we basically took over from him a couple years later. And it's worked out well. We moved over the hill to Driggs here a couple years after that. And so it's nice to have, to be able to make ski bindings in a place where we can get out and ski on them and test them and things like that.
Oh, it's an amazing place. I am biased because I am your neighbor down over there in Victor. Okay, well, that's so interesting. Yeah, so you had this history of growing up in the mountains, and then at what point did you realize climate change? One of the activities for this month for CCL chapters all over the country is to tell our climate stories, where we say before CCL, I felt I don't know, bummed. And then, so what was it like? Tell me that part of your story.
Sure. I think I probably started to become aware of it in college. I did take I studied mechanical engineering, but I took a few sort of environmentally themed courses, and so kind of started to become aware of the depth of the problem, I guess, probably around in college, which was right around, 2000. I graduated college in '02. And yeah, and then I think once we started the business, which was in 2004, as I mentioned, like all of our business is based off of on skiing and snow, and you realize how tied to the climate our industry is. And so I kind of became a little bit more aware, a little bit more involved. And as I said, I've only been with CCL for about 5 years, but was kind of involved with some other groups, probably less involved. CCL gets you more involved with than your average, environmental group, but kind of just increasingly aware of the problem and wanting to take action on it over the last 20 years or so, and until finally joining CCL. And yeah, it's been exciting and a good way to get involved as a member of the industry, since I know others in the snow sports industry is kind of what we tend to call it. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting because like when we think about the future of winter recreation and say skiing,
Yeah.
a lot of us here love like, downhill skiing or Nordic skiing. And if you think of like a ski resort, well, okay, maybe they could do mountain biking, when there's no snow in 75
Right.
years, but what's the telemark biking company gonna do?
Right.
That's like, yeah, virtual reality.
Yeah.
So that's very, very, yeah, it hits you, right? So you have a strong motivation. Okay, let's talk
It
about
does.
like your work in getting these endorsements.
Yeah.
And if anyone else has questions, you can throw them in the chat. You can also raise your hand and jump in. We can definitely make this a discussion. But so I guess my first question is, do you feel any sense of like, oh, I have my business personality, I have like my advocacy hat that I'm wearing, you're working with sometimes some conservative people like in the Tetons, how does that all
Right.
go and play out in your mind and in your actual implementation of the job of getting endorsements?
Yeah, I mean, most of the endorsements I've gotten are just folks who I have met through the industry, and as I get to know them, then it's kind of just something that it's always in the back of my head of, gee, would this be someone who'd be willing to make an endorsement, and try to sort of mention something about it as soon as I can, and then following up, hopefully not too many times until we can get something. But yeah, it's definitely great to be able to be in an industry that is, generally speaking, pretty conscious of climate issues, and whether it's the outdoor industry, I would say as a whole is pretty conscious of it, but then the snow sports industry within that is even a bit more so, for the obvious reasons I just mentioned. Snow, it's all happens on snow. And so yeah, I just kind of like, whenever I make a new connection with someone who is maybe whether they're the owner of a business or somebody who might be able to have a conversation with the owner of the business, to just be kind of have that little elevator pitch ready, whether it's on email or in phone or on in person, to just kind of plant that seed and to be able to follow up. Seems to be the best way to go about it. And yeah, one thing I'd like to start doing more of moving forward is kind of some of the local businesses around here. You know, I was able to get an endorsement somewhat recently from Grand Targhee, which was kind of our local ski area. Yeah, and I was kind of just thinking locally, it's like it's a pretty small valley here. I mean, we have about 12 or 13,000 people maybe, and so the businesses are relatively small. So I'm just sort of started at the top of like the biggest businesses, you know, and Targhee's biggest business in the valley, I think, and top two employers that between them and the hospital. And I happen to have a relationship with the owner, Jordy Gillette. I didn't know him really well, but he's a telemark skier, and so that helped. You know, so I could kind of chat with him when I would run into him up at the mountain, or he actually came down to our shop last year to get some bindings mounted up, and that's when I sort of sprung it on him about, hey, you know, you heard of Citizens Climate Lobby, and you know, this legislation that we've got, and yeah, it worked out.
Wow. Okay. So what I'm hearing is a lot of good tips. If I could summarize, it's, you know, think about who you're meeting and see if, you know, keep it in your mind, would this person be a good person to endorse? Do they know a business leader or work for a business leader who could endorse? And then
Right.
to look for the opportunity to introduce the subject matter in a nice, natural, relaxed way. And
Yeah,
then stay persistent, find things to connect on, you know, look for the common ground.
absolutely.
Do you find that it takes a lot of explaining, even though, like, so your targets are snow sports industries, and so they understand, you know, climate change and the threat.
Yeah,
Do they need to know how important advocacy is more so even than like lowering their greenhouse gases or counting their greenhouse gases? That's like a really popular thing for businesses to do right now.
right.
Do they need to like awareness about advocacy? Do you educate them?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's it's important because they might sort of initially say, well, you know, I don't know if I would feel comfortably doing this in such a public way, and you know, we're working on this and that. It has been helpful. The Outdoor Industry Association, which we're a member of, has their Climate Action Corps, which we're also a member of, and started probably about 3-4 years ago, and I think they've got about 100 members now. And the you know the point of the Climate Action Corps is for these businesses to be able to lower their carbon footprint. And I would say, you know, the majority of the focus is how to lower that with their own products and things that they sell. But an important part of the Climate Action Corps is an advocacy component, and so businesses have been encouraged to reach out to their members of Congress and take other actions that will kind of move the needle in the advocacy sphere, I guess, and make changes at, you know, the national level in particular. And so that's been helpful, I think, probably for us. And I've tried with a little less success to sort of reach out, you know, through the Climate Action Corps to say, hey, folks, you know, look at Citizens Climate Lobby. But I think that's something that we should be able to do a bit more of, especially I can try to be a little more proactive when they have advocacy events and meeting, you know, Zoom calls and that sort of thing, to make sure to drop our name in there. And you know, I've found when getting endorsements, one thing that's helped to make it a bit easier is that now you can just send them that link to sort of finish the deal. It's not, you know, not having to send PDFs back and forth or anything. And so I think that's something that could help make it easier in a large group like that. And we're like, here's the link right here. So yeah, I'm still coming up with ideas even right now. So it's always
Oh,
good to
I love it. I love it. Well,
brainstorm.
Bill has his hand raised, so let's get Bill in here with
Oh
a
yeah.
question. I'm excited to hear.
Well, it's not really a question. I just, something that you brought up, Chris, that I thought was really great was, the relationship component. Like, these guys, you ski with them, they run a business that, is being impacted. And so I just wanted to highlight that I love how you built on that relationship and, kind of played the slow game in a way, just kind of hanging out and then
Yeah.
bringing up a question over time. And I think that's a really a very fruitful way to build these relationships that lead to endorsements. And just wanted to highlight that and appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And I would say I actually just pulled up the grasstops engagement tracker before we got on here so I could remind myself of what endorsements I've gotten. But it's it ranges from folks I'm very good friends with to folks who I've never met and have just had a few emails with in the industry. And so it's it changes a little bit how you approach reaching out to someone for that ask. But yeah, no, it's true, just having relationships, cultivating that, and working to get to know someone a little bit better, or maybe ask a few questions, and then reaching out, and then of course once you reach out with that ask, they'll often usually come back with questions. And so just kind of keeping that conversation going as quickly as possible, I guess. Yeah.
So what is the endorsement that you're the most proud of out of all the ones that you've gotten?
Pull up my list here. I mean, maybe Grand Targhee.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I guess it shows I'm listed next to the SIA, Snow Sports Industries of America endorsement as well, and that's a great one because it sort of represents a lot of the snow sports industry, and it wasn't especially difficult, but it was because of another relationship I had with Chris, who is now their advocacy director. He had come over from Protect Our Winters to Snow Sports Industries, and so it was sort of he understands 100% the issue and the importance of advocacy and legislation, and so that one wasn't terribly difficult, but I did have to just screw up the courage to ask him, like, could this possibly happen with SIA? Okay, great. And so that's kind of an exciting one as well.
I know, I'm just amazed that, you just go to these big leaders and just throw it out there, and then they say yes to you.
Yeah, and that's Chris Steinkamp, by the way. I had to remember his last name, but yeah, and typically it's folks who I'm already having a conversation with about something else, and which I don't know. I guess for me that makes it a bit easier, and you can kind of add a paragraph at the end about, are you familiar with Citizens Climate Lobby? We've got this legislation. As you know, we need national legislation to really move the needle on climate, and would you be interested in endorsing this? So.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so you're already in conversation with them, and then
Yeah,
if you just sort of tag it on with a very concise, like the elevator pitch.
exactly. And, you know, and that's sort of the email example, and sometimes it's in person or on the phone, but yeah, it kind of works out, seems to work out well if I'm already in conversation with someone about business or some other topic, and to just kind of tack that on, you know, you've already got their attention, and yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, obviously not every single person on the team, works professionally in outdoor recreation, but we do all interact with all different types of leaders in our daily lives. So, this can extend the same approach and the same idea of what Chris is, describing tonight. It could really go into other industries, of just whoever you're in contact with. That could be your pastor at your church, or maybe you're at a city council meeting, advocating for electrification of buildings. Okay, cool. Well, let's see if
Yeah.
anyone else wants to hop in with any other questions. We will open it up to everybody. And then also, Chris, if you have any last words of wisdom that you want to share.
Sure.
Should we just give a round of applause for Chris's amazing work? Good job.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, are you kidding? Thanks for coming. It's really, really nice to have you with us. And I super appreciate all the help that you've given me as I was, fledgling getting endorsements. You and Bill and Matt, and Sabrina and Robin and Anne, all of you amazing people have really helped me. So I'm really glad that you were able to be here tonight. And I know that you're pretty busy with your family. So if you do want to drop off the meeting, we will totally understand. But we do have the rest
Okay.
of the agenda to get to. So thank you, Chris.
Great. Yeah,
I have
thanks
a
so much.
question.
Oh, good. Julie.
Please.
Do you sell cross-country ski boots?
Sorry, do I sell cross-country ski boots? Is that what you said?
Telemark boots. My 23-year-old boots fell apart on me skiing.
Oh man, 23.
Oh man, sucked. Anyway,
Sorry to hear it. Yeah, we don't make the boots, unfortunately, but
damn. Okay. I'd buy from you in a minute.
all right. So, well, if you get the newest boots, then you'll have to get new bindings too. Well, let me know.
Oh, okay. You still do 3-pin?
We do, yep. But we also do it's called NTN, the new telemark norm is what we mostly do now. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, you guys.
No, I mean, I love that question. And I'm actually thinking like, maybe I should learn telemark skiing just so I can buy from Chris. Murray, you have a question, and I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Chris, I used to telemark ski, and I had cable bindings on my two measures.
Okay.
Is that what you make?
Yep, exactly. I mean, it's quite a bit different than, I mean, I don't know, when did you buy those bindings?
Oh, geez.
70s, 80s?
The 90s.
90s, okay. So those would be a little more similar, to some of the bindings that we do still make.
Right. I mean, they weren't like the old downhill cable bindings. They were, telemark bindings.
Right. Yeah, they've just, and we still make 70, it's called 75 millimeters, the boots with the duck bill. And like Julie mentioned, the 3-pin.
I mean, there were cable bindings, but they also had 3 pins on them.
Okay. Yeah, and so ours don't actually use the pins, but we do have cables, and they're just sort of a little more big and beefy now than in the 90s, as the boots have gotten bigger as well.
Awesome.
You just make bindings. You don't make skins or anything like that.
That's right. Just the bindings.
And you make them right there in the USA in
Yeah.
Teton Valley, Idaho. You have the manufacturing right there. I've been to visit you.
Yeah, we make, we actually purchase most of our parts from vendors, but they're all made in the US. And then we do all the assembly here in Driggs, and we've always felt that it was important to make them in the US just for I think in part, climate reasons. And also I think, it was helpful with some of the supply chain issues that have happened in the last couple of years as well, and saving on all the shipping and that sort of thing.
Well, with this group, we could talk gear and skiing and conditions for hours, but we have to move on. So thank you, Chris. That was just fabulous. I can't wait for the people who haven't joined us tonight live to be able to watch the recording and read the notes and the major takeaways from you getting endorsements. And team, let's all go out there and do like Chris does and get a lot of endorsements for cashback carbon pricing this year. So thank you for
All right.
inspiring us.
Thanks so much, Laurel. Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Oh my